right, guys, when it comes to what's going on in politics today, well, 2021 is going to be coming to an end real soon. But one of the things that we have noticed that is not coming to an end anytime too soon is inflation. We're going to talk about that in details, as well as the increase in costs of Medicare Part B. We're going to go through all the details regarding that and how important it is to make sure that you make the right decision here on Mostly Money. Well, my name is Andre, and you're watching Mostly Money, where you're going to get all facts, no fake, no phony, and no fluffed up information when it comes to what's going on in politics today. And if you're interested in getting this information on a daily basis, well, you've made it to the right channel. All you need to do for yourself is just one thing: subscribe. Then click that bell notification so you get the latest and greatest information coming from Mostly Money, because we're going to always be here for you and your loved ones. Let's get started. On the show Meet the Press yesterday, they discuss what's going on when it comes to inflation, how it's impacting you, and also how it's impacting the political landscape. Everything from inflation from gasoline, used cars, all the way down to basic food. And also the fact that there's going to be some major inflation when it comes to the cost of the gas and electricity we use during the winter months.
Here's where the price increases year over year. Gas is up nearly 50%. We heard a lot over the last 6 months about the used car issue. That's over 25%. But here's the stuff like groceries, meat, poultry, fish and eggs up nearly 12%, and the rent up over 11%. But let me also show you this map here, because it may actually explain why there's a feeling that some are more in touch with this issue than others. The red here is where inflation is the highest. If you look at that red, it looks like a lot of red political states as well. Look at the two coasts. It's certainly there, but where it's bluer, the impact is a bit less. So, Leanne, when you hear this sort of discordant messages on inflation, I mean, you hear Pramila Jayapal, people aren't experiencing it. Well, maybe they're sort of baked it in, but in some of the red areas, they're feeling it hard.
Yeah, that's right. That's why every single time I've spoken with Rick Scott, the head of the Republican Senatorial Campaign Committee, he's been talking about inflation for months. And this is what Republicans are focusing on. Democrats, on the other hand, they're focused on passing the Biden agenda, which there's some concerns that it could increase inflation. Democrats say that it won't. They say that the Build Back Better plan will actually help inflation. They're hoping there's more money in people's pockets, that inflation is transitory and that it will go away. But there's months to see to these elections.
Eugene, we're all transitory. Depending on sort of, I feel like that excuse.
That's a very deep point.
It is. Well, but you got to be careful there. What feels temporary on a stat sheet is somebody's reality.
Yeah, it's a reminder that this is a big America, and you have to have messaging that targets where people are in different places. It's not a surprise that the Democrats want to lean heavily on the Build Back Better plan, because many of its programs are popular, and so they feel like if they can move forward with that, the concerns many Americans may have with inflation, they're hoping will seem smaller compared to the victory the Democrats are hoping to get.
Claire, is this a political problem for the White House or a policy problem?
No, it's both.
Yeah.
Probably big political problem. I mean, if we're talking about gas prices this time next year, if next summer, then it's even going to be harder in the midterms, and it's already going to be hard.
Right.
You know, job numbers are great. I mean, Biden's created more jobs in the first 10 months of his administration than Trump did in the first 2 years of his administration. And by the way, he didn't have COVID then.
Right.
So, the job creation is great, but if you've got a job, but you're paying $5 a gallon for gas, that's all you think about. So I think it is a big political problem. And I'll tell you, Eugene, the problem with the Build Back Better and the infrastructure is how quickly can they execute? How quickly can those things feel real as the price of butter in the grocery store? And I don't know if they can execute quickly enough to make them real enough to matter next November.
You know, Matthew, if we actually wanted to deal with this issue, there's three. You can raise taxes, you can raise interest rates, you can flood the labor market, right? Those are some things that could deal with inflation. I guess Republicans in 22 don't have to come up with a solution, though, do they? They can just talk about it.
No, they don't. I mean, Joe Biden arrived in this town, Washington, D.C. in 1973, just as the great inflation was picking up speed.
Right.
Sank 3 presidencies. Hurt Nixon, hurt Ford, hurt Carter. Inflation is a presidency ender. And the only way we know how to cure it, Chuck, is a deep and long recession.
Oh, that's really optimistic.
I'm the bearer of bad news today.
But that gets at the issue. There is not a policy answer, right? This is one of those. They got to hope they're right about the supply chain. They got to hope they're right about the labor market. And maybe they are, but we don't know.
Now, as many of us know, the reason why this inflation is taking place, especially in the United States, is because a lot of companies are trying to make up for the cost or the monies that they lost last year. It cost them a lot to keep the hotels running, keep the gas stations going, keep the restaurants and the stores open, as well as running the hospitals last year. And many of them ran with no profit. Now this year, the airlines, the gas stations, the grocery stores are all trying to recoup their losses from last year and charge us extra prices. It's sad that gasoline is twice as much this year than what it was last year. It's amazing to sit back and see that the cost of just a loaf of bread or just a meat or rice has risen so much. A lot of people can't afford to pay for food, at the same time pay for their medical needs. So once again, guys, if you have not received that list that we have of all 50 states and some of the programs they have, not just for rental relief, but also for food supply, also help you to pay some of those utility bills off, make sure you email me at this email address so I can make sure I get that list out to you. It's not too late. They're already starting to send that money out. Of the $46 billion that were allotted to the states for that stimulus money, over $13 billion of it has already been given out already over the last few months. So make sure you email me so I can get this list out to you guys. And also, those of you that are waiting for me to email you back on the job list of over 300 online jobs that you can do, as well as being a senior for some of these jobs, I will be responding to you all today. Now, when it comes to your Medicare, everybody knows that this is that time of year since October 15th. It's the time of the year for enrollment. However, even though you can make a few changes and tweaks based off of what you need this year compared to last year's medical needs, it looks like the cost of even your premiums and deductibles have risen.
So recently, CMS released the 2022 Medicare premiums and deductibles, and some of the costs for 2022 are a little bit higher than originally was projected. So in 2022, the Medicare Part B premium will be $170.10 per month. This year in 2021, it's $148.50. So that's a pretty significant jump. It's going to be going up by $21.60 per month starting January 1st, 2022. Additionally, the Medicare Part B deductible is going up to $233 annually starting in 2022. This is a $30 increase. Right now in 2021, the Part B deductible is $203 per year. So if you have a Medicare supplement plan, like a Plan G or a Plan N, that Part B deductible is what you have to meet before your coverage kicks in. And again, for 2022, that will be $233 per year. And if I scroll down a little bit here, I can also see the IRMA, or the income related monthly adjusted amounts for 2022. So if you're considered a high income earner, you may have to pay more for your Medicare Part B and Part D premiums. And Medicare bases this off of the adjusted gross income on your tax return from 2 years prior. So this graph here shows what the IRMA charges are going to be for Part B for 2022. And this chart here also goes over the Medicare Part A deductibles and coinsurance for 2022, which are also going up. And finally, here are the Medicare Part D IRMA premiums for 2022. So again, if you're a high income earner, you may have to pay more for your Part D prescription drug plan premium, or if you have a Medicare Advantage plan that includes prescription drug coverage, you would be subject to this IRMA as well if you fall into one of these higher income categories.
Now remember, when it comes to choosing your Medicare, your needs that you had last year could be different from the needs that you had this year. If you need help, you can go to Medicare. It's absolutely free, and they'll be able to assist you when it comes to making the proper decision for you and or your loved ones when it comes to your Medicare needs, especially Part B and Part D, because you already know that the costs have gone up, but you don't want to have to pay for something that you may not be using for the rest of the year. Well, my name is Andre of Mostly Money, and I'm here to give you all facts, no fake, no phony, and no fluffed up information when it comes to what's going on in politics today. And if you're interested in always getting the truth on a daily basis, well, you made it to the right channel. All you need to do for yourself is subscribe. Then click that bell notification so you get the latest and greatest information coming from Mostly Money, because we're going to always be here for you and your loved ones. I'm on my way to the comment section. I'm going to get a cup of coffee first. I'll meet you guys there. And if I don't get a chance to speak to you, you don't get a chance to speak to me, we are not going to fret about it, because I'll be speaking to you again.